fan at Cubby's. What's the bar, Cubby's?
Cubby Bear.
You guys said that.
There was a fan there, a United fan there. I was like, well, fantastic.
You know, they're probably doing the same thing we're doing, coming down for the weekend of sports.
And we do have a affiliate supporters group in Milwaukee Loons. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're great, and I'm expecting them to show up tonight. And
which reminds me to say that we will be in Madison in a month.
Yep.
To see FC Madison play.
I'll be there too. So
the same game that Wonderwall will.
And Corey will probably be on the podcast again. So
of course. I mean, I can't think of a better way to spend my time than hang out with you three. So
I can think of a lot of good
I know.
better than hanging out with us.
So Corey, that was a little half-hearted. I think that wasn't.
And as long as you're talking about Madison, we might as well congratulate them on their opening. Well, I shouldn't say opening round, but U.S. Open Cup championship win over Milwaukee, Bavarian.
The Bavarians.
2-0.
Yep.
So we'll be down there. Let's before we kind of break off to something else. Corey, Jen, your thoughts on the season so far for United? I mean,
Corey, we're a third of the way in. Basically,
we're just about a third. After tonight, we'll basically be a third of the way.
I'm surprised at how well we're doing. I really thought we'd be where we've been the last two seasons, even with the acquisitions we brought in. So to see, what are we, sixth?
Sixth at the moment.
Sixth.
Yeah, but they're sitting there 4-3-3.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So to be in the playoffs at a third of the way through is surprising. It's been great. Offensively, we've been stellar. Mm-hmm. Defensively, we're getting better with the changes that have been made. So, I'm excited to see where we go the rest of the season. So,
Jen?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say the same thing. I think I'm happily surprised by how we're doing, and I think it is the excitement of everything being so new stadium, new players. I feel like from seeing them, they all work well together. Offense has been good. Defense can use some help. But I've liked seeing Eric Miller. Him play, him kind of come up and...
we don't like to talk about Eric Miller.
Oh, sorry.
Me and him had a fight.
I'm bitter.
Oh.
We had a fight when there was that trade
because
was made.
Sam left.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yes. Yes, I heard that on one of your guys' podcasts.
We had
talking about that.
We had a kerfuffle.
I have a weird affinity for liking Sam Nicholson.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he is a good guy.
No offense to Eric.
Yeah.
He's
no,
one
it's
of the,
fine. I get it.
And Eric is actually in my MBA class.
Oh.
I've had him in multiple classes.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I one time commented on one of his discussion posts. I just put coil at the end. He didn't respond, but he knows that. I would hope he knows that there's someone in this class that, and I've had him. Yeah, I mean, seriously, he's been in like 4 of my classes.
Yeah.
It's we argued about it. I thought it was a good trade. He did.
It was a fine trade. I just
Sam.
But I get it. When you get rid of somebody you like or
plus,
trade.
I heard Sam Nicholson wears Old Spice.
What the hell? What the hell is Old Spice?
I have nothing wrong with Old Spice.
I'm buying you guys all cases of Old Spice for Christmas.
I'm sorry, Jen. I'm sorry. Just want to say. So, I mean, Jen, you think the season has gone the way you hoped for?
I'm just happily surprised.
Yeah.
I really am. I think it's just they respond to what I feel like what we want so bad. Getting that first win rather than ties. I think it was incredible.
Yep.
I feel like we're doing. I think we're doing great.
Yep.
So it's good not to be disappointed.
It's tough for me, guys, and it might be tough for Stevens, you too, being Vikings fans and getting your hopes up about something and then having them dashed.
Yeah.
So the last couple of years with United, I've been a little bit kind of hesitant to get way excited about it, but then
cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, exactly. But this year I've been like, let's go. I mean, I've been very excited about it. But I hope that my hopes don't get dashed.
It's Minnesota, so you have to you have to
Yeah.
temper it just a little.
I know. So tonight's game, between I think three of us have to make our
Yeah, we
predictions.
haven't made any predictions.
Official ones yet.
Dave, you go first. I don't know.
Okay, I can go first because I and it's tough for me, but I've been waffling on this game all week. Now I'm not, I think it's just so strong. You look at Chicago. I think they're a bit of an underrated team at this moment. They've had, if you go back and look at the last few games, they've had good results. Obviously, we talked about the 5-0 thrashing in New England. I could write that off to New England being just out of form and terrible. But then their prior game, they actually went into Bank of California Stadium and held LAFC to a scoreless draw. The first time anybody's held LAFC scoreless all year. They're playing strong. Chicago is, and so I can't say they're going to go in and win. I can't even say 3-1, 4-1. But I'm going to lean with Minnesota. For this podcast. But I'm going to be a little more reserved and maybe go with a 2-1 result in Minnesota's favor. But it has been tough, as well as Chicago's been playing.
I'm going to go 2-0 Minnesota.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you pretty much
I
picked my
think
score.
based on how our defense has played against really good teams, based on the support they're going to have with them, I think our defense will post.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
And I mentioned that the chances Chicago have had. One thing that I kind of found interesting watching the New England match is Chicago scored their first goal in the 29th minute against New England. That was the earliest they've scored a goal all year. So my thing is always in the 29th minute. So my thing is always, I hope the Loons survive the first 5-10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, it's always the same deal.
It's always been that.
It's
way.
always the same.
It's
So-
like 15 minutes. Okay, I can relax.
So
Yeah,
statistically, I think this bodes well for Minnesota. The fact that Chicago's not they're more of a second half team. I think that maybe bodes well for us, especially if the Loons can get the all important first goal of this match.
Right.
So
I'm going 2-0 as well.
Okay.
I think the defense has been playing lights out lately, and I think they've got the right setup now to really just grow with that
So
defense.
you do not think Chicago's going to get their third clean sheet in a row?
No,
Okay. I guess none of us do based on
And
predictions.
not happening.
And being that this is recorded, I will tweet this out so people
Yeah,
know
please tweet
for
it
a
out.
fact
Tweet it out.
that our official picks, including Corey and Jens.
Yep.
And of course, it's a very short MLS history, but Chicago has never defeated the Loons.
Right? That's true.
Chicago. So, games tonight at 7 o'clock. We're all going to be there. It's going to be great times.
And there's a cool concert at the beginning.
You guys are going to that. So,
Rock Against Racism.
yep. Well, of
And-
cour's punk bands are playing, so that's why you're going.
That's why
It
I'm
might
going.
be slightly
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
why I'm going.
For sure.
Yeah, see,
Kids and your loud music.
you know.
Chicago punk. There's nothing like Chicago punk.
I like the band Chicago.
So,
Like them.
It's very different from that.
I know it.
It's almost the same.
So let's get into some other league stuff here. So
Yeah.
Cincinnati fired their coach.
Yep.
I mean, obviously there was some issues with who they got, their players, what formations he was using. There was all kinds of things that worked into it.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't necessarily know the inner workings of what was happening. Apparently, there were some locker room conflicts. Players weren't impressed with Coke's identity. Identity was the word that I heard multiple times. I think it's interesting because to me, I would put a lot of identity issues on team building. A lot of times you can't really have an identity if your players aren't quite what you want them to be. They were very midfield heavy. They didn't focus on defense. They didn't really focus on attack. So it's like, how do you define a team
Yeah.
that and define an identity for a team when you've got like 75% of your team is midfield and you have nothing to focus on.
And again, we talked about the 5-year plan, 3-year plan with the Loons a lot.
Right.
But do you think that Cincinnati has like a 3-year plan?
Obviously not.
I mean, because if you fire the coach that early in the first season,
You don't
it
even
tells
have a
me
year
that
plan.
you don't have a plan at all.
Yeah. And, I mean, again, if there was toxicity in the locker room, I get it. But what was causing that toxicity?
Yeah.
Was it really Coke? Was he just that bad at managing?
And we'll never know.
Right.
We'll never know.
I was shocked. I thought it was pretty crazy.
It seems early for, if they're talking about the culture of the club and the decline of the culture, that's fine and good. But
Right.
that over the first 10 games of their existence in MLS.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, considering what we went through for 2 years,
Yeah.
I mean, it's 10 games seems surprising.
They didn't fire Heath after the first couple games in 2017.
Yeah.
Give him
And
four
it,
stars.
I really have to say, Heath came in with a plan, and there was an article way back in 55-1 about, it was like November 2016, about Heath and McGuire sat down and they had a discussion about their vision, and Heath, I would assume, kind of put out his 3-year plan there.
Yeah.
And they kind of all agreed, and
Yep.
I'm impressed with the fact that they've been patient.
They have
and
been very patient.
Waited it out to see what would happen.
Yeah.
If Heath isn't with us in 2020, I'm actually okay with that, because that shows that they were willing to give him his 3 years.
Yeah.
So for me, when I see a team just say 10 games, you didn't do well,
You're fired.
you're out.
You're out.
It's like, well, come on. I mean, did you even give him a chance to fix things that
Yeah.
maybe were broken? Did you give him all the pieces he needed?
And I guess with an expansion team, I give it a little leeway because it's an expansion team, right? But
Right.
then we had another firing this week,
Right.
which was
New England.
Yeah, New England.
Firing
Friedel.
Friedel.
Yeah. And I think this came after the
A day after the
5-0
Chicago Fire.
defeat to Chicago Fire.
And, this one's interesting because obviously they beat us.
Right.
Yeah, they did.
Well,
But it's a thing where their season was deteriorating significantly.
That's the right word, because I wouldn't call them a strong side when Minnesota lost on the road in Foxborough, but they have gone downhill since that point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think especially
which
with,
is shocking.
yeah. I mean, and it's culminated in Wednesday night's result.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think you're right, Dave. It wasn't a strong side that beat us. We kind of beat ourselves, which is, par for the course when we do lose.
Yep.
And I think I pointed out in our conversations before this that there were 2 individuals that played a role in that loss that
What?
are not with us anymore.
What are you talking about?
One's not with us at all, and one's not been playing.
at least in the starting 11.
Right.
Ooh.
So, with it, just to avoid mentioning those who shall not be named. No, I mean, I think there's an argument there that Boxall and Calvo could have been our weaker links in defense, and so it's hard to say whether New England's win against us was even notable because we hadn't made our adjustment yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be fair here, just to tie these 2 points together, we are talking about the 2 worst clubs in the East, it's between Cincinnati and New England. And I'll just say, Cincinnati, maybe this change of coaching position, maybe it worked because they beat Montreal at home earlier today, and just they won 2-1. And that was actually their first goal when they scored their first goal. They hadn't scored a goal in their previous 5 matches. Meaning they had gone almost
didn't
500.
realize that.
They had gone almost 500 minutes without scoring a goal.
freaking nuts.
But they won 2-1 today and actually overtook New England, leaving New England last in the East with 8 points. So, yeah.
Corey, do you have any thoughts on that?
yeah.
Either of them.
So Cincinnati, so they tried to bring the USL model to MLS. So they brought the coach. They decided the best way to do that was to spend a ton of money, and when you bring in that many new players and you bring in that